Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city officials, and our streaming audience. I'd like to welcome you to the November 28th City Council meeting. We have eight items on our agenda this evening. We are meeting here in chambers, open for public attendance, and streaming live on YouTube. Moving forward, if you would, Ms. Moss, please continue with the roll call of the members.
Thank you, President Geringer. Greg Phillips.
Here.
Payne.
Here.
Nickerson. Farrow.
Here.
Henderson.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Preston.
Here.
Anthony Phillips.
Here.
Prohl.
Ms. Nickerson and Mr. Prohl both notified me that they were out ill this evening. Do I have a motion to excuse the two? Mrs. Payne, seconded by Mr. Greg Phillips. Roll call on the motion to excuse Ms. Nickerson and Mr. Prohl.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Henderson.
Yes.
Farrow.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Motion passes. At this time, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. The minutes of the previous two meetings have been distributed for review. They include the special meeting on November the 7th, as well as the previous meeting on November the 14th. Are there any additions or corrections for the minutes? If not, do I have a motion to accept the minutes as they are? Motion by Ms. Henderson, seconded by Mr. Greg Phillips. Roll call on the motion to accept the minutes.
Preston.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Farrow.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Henderson.
Yes.
The minutes have been accepted. We'll now go to the reports of the committees, and we'll begin with our Community Affair Committee. Mr. Greg Phillips.
Thank you, President Geringer. Community Affairs has nothing on the agenda this evening. However, I would like to call for a committee meeting on December 5th, so next Monday, which is already December, for 6:30, and that is going to be assignment 22-103, and that is going to be over the Ross County Reentry Coalition. And that is all I have to report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Next, we'll move to our Human Resources Committee with Ms. Payne.
Thank you, President Geringer. Human Resources, we do not have an item on the agenda this evening and nothing new to report on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Payne. Moving on to the Development Committee. In the absence of Ms. Nickerson, do any committee members have any items to report? Not seeing, we'll move to Finance Committee. Mr. Tony Phillips.
Thank you, President Geringer. Finance has one item on the agenda tonight. It's number 2. It is a second reading. An ordinance appropriating $18,320 in insurance funds received as security as a result of a structure fire at 268 South Hickory Street, Chiillicothe, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. And at the appropriate time, I will ask council to support the waive of the 3-read rule. And no other committees have been assigned. That's all Finance has tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Next to Park and Recreation Committee, Ms. Henderson.
Thank you, President Geringer. Parks and Rec has one item on tonight's agenda. That is item number 8, to continue and amend the city's DORAs. At the appropriate time, I will ask to waive the 3-read rule, and I'm doing this to allow the new participants listed in this to join in the extended holiday hours. And that is all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. Next is Safety Service Committee. Ms.
Thank you.
Preston?
Thank you, President Geringer. The Safety Service has 2 items on the agenda tonight. The first one is number 1. It's a second reading of an ordinance amending sections 1709.02D weeds, 138.03 nuisance abatement definitions, and 138.06 notice of nuisance or repeat nuisance services of the codified ordinance of the City of Chiillicothe. The other one is number 5. It's a first reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating the ARPA Law Enforcement Violence Reduction and Staffing Grant, accepting the terms of the grant agreement, approving the creation of a new fund for tracking grant revenue and expenditures, and declaring an emergency. And at the appropriate time, I'll be requesting to waive the 3-read rule on that item. And that's all that I have this evening. Nothing else to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Preston. Next, our Engineering Committee as well as City Service and Transit Committee, Mr. Farrow.
Thank you. On behalf of City Services and Transit, I have nothing on the agenda and nothing new to report. On behalf of the Engineering Committee, we do have 4 items on this evening's agenda. First, we got item number 3, which is the first reading of an ordinance appropriating $4,000 for the replacement of a traffic signal pole near 810 East Main Street and declaring an emergency. This is one of the poles that are holding up a traffic signal. They are kind of right in front of Mount Logan School. The foundation is failing, so we are asking to get those funds appropriated, and that way we can get the pole replaced. So at the appropriate time, I will ask that we waive the 3-read rule. We also have item number 4, which is the first reading of an ordinance appropriating $16,000 for plaster repair and painting at the City of Chiillicothe Administration Building. No hurry on that, so we'll let that go to the next meeting's agenda. Also have item number 6, which is the first reading of an ordinance establishing an agreement between the City of Chiillicothe and the Ohio Department of Transportation regarding their municipal bridge inspection program and declaring an emergency. At the appropriate time, I will ask to waive the 3-read rule. This allows us to use ODOT's consultants to inspect our bridges at no cost to the city. All they ask is that we put proper signs and make repairs as they find needed. But we're not on the hook to do that if, So also we have item number 7, which is the first reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating $4,776.20 from Ohio Mutual Insurance for the repair of the wall locating at the entrance of Brewer Heights, which was damaged in a traffic crash, and declaring an emergency. Majority of this work is already completed, and at the appropriate time, I will ask that we waive the 3-read rule so we can make Mr. Phillips residents happy over in Brewer Heights. And that is all I have on tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrow. Finally, Utilities Committee, in the absence of Mr. Prohl, do any of the committee members have an item to report?
Thank you, President Geringer. Utilities had a 6 p.m. Committee meeting, and Mr. Bradlong and Auditor Spetnagel were here, and we had a good meeting. They presented 5 potential options of the rate hikes that are going to be necessary to help fund and pay for in excess of a $60 million wastewater treatment plant. And so in order to meet deadlines, I'm sure a committee assignment will be coming through Mr. Prohl's committee very soon, and that is something that we will need to have discussions about and try to get a quick turnaround on that to meet some EPA deadlines and some bid deadlines and rate hike deadlines. So it was a good meeting, lots of information, so we kind of have to process it and get that committee assignment started and get to work on that. And that's all I have for utilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. From there, we'll move to our reports of our officials. Our auditor, Ms. Spetnagel. Next, we'll move to our law director, Ms. Villarreal.
Thank you. I don't have a report. We do have a lot of things coming through, and I'm understanding there are some contracts coming our way. But other than that, we have nothing to report. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Villarreal. We'll now move to audience participation. Council Rule 22 does limit each speaker to a 5-minute presentation and a total limitation of 15 minutes per any single subject. If you get to the point where you're getting close to 1 minute left, I'll try to indicate to you to summarize your presentation. Anyone who wishes to speak, we do need your name and address for our records. Thank you. We'll now move to old business. Does anyone have any old business that they would like to bring up this evening? Not seeing any. Participation and correspondence received by the clerk.
Thank you, President Geringer. I have not received anything.
Now moving to new business. Any new business that needs to be addressed at this time? Very good. We'll now move on to our legislation. We have 8 items on our agenda this evening. Ms. Moss, whenever you're ready, we can start with item number 1.
Thank you, President Geringer. Item number 1 is the second reading of an ordinance amending sections 1709.02D weeds, 138.03 nuisance abatement definitions, and 138.06 notice of nuisance or repeat nuisance service of the codified ordinances of the city of Chiillicothe.
That item will move to our next agenda. Item number 2.
Item number 2 is a second reading of an ordinance appropriating $18,320 in insurance funds received as security as the result of a structure fire at 268 South Hickory Street, Chiillicothe, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Tony, that's you. Yep. Item number 2 on the waiver.
Item number 2, at this time, Council President, I would like to ask to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule.
Motion by Mr. Tony Phillips, seconded by Ms. Henderson to waive the 3-read rule. Roll call on the motion.
Payne,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Henderson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Farrow,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
The ordinance passes. Item number 3.
Item number 3 is the first reading of an ordinance appropriating $4,000 for the replacement of a traffic signal pole near 810 East Main Street and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer, I'd like to make a motion that we waive the 3-read rule for this agenda item.
Motion by Mr. Farrow, seconded by Mrs. Payne. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-read rule.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Henderson,
Yes.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Farrow.
Yes.
Item number 4. Ordinance passes. Excuse me. Item number 4.
Item number 4 is the first reading of an ordinance appropriating $16,000 for plaster and painting at the City of Chiillicothe Administration Building.
That item will move to our next agenda. Item number 5.
Item number 5 is the first reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating the ARPA Law Enforcement Violence Reduction and Staffing Grant, accepting the terms of the grant agreement, approving the creation of a new fund for tracking grant revenue and expenditures, and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer.
Ms. Preston.
I would like to make a motion at this time to waive the 3-read rule on this agenda item.
Motion by Ms. Preston, seconded by Ms. Henderson. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-read rule.
Brown,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Item number 6.
Item number 6 is the first reading of an ordinance establishing an agreement between the City of Chiillicothe and the Ohio Department of Transportation regarding their municipal bridge inspection program and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer,
Mr. Farrow.
I would like to make a motion that we waive the 3-read rule due to the deadline to enroll in this program.
Motion by Mr. Farrow, seconded by Ms. Payne to waive the 3-read rule. Roll call on the motion.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Item number 7.
Item number 7 is the first reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating $4,776.20 from the Ohio Mutual Insurance for the repair of the wall located at the entrance of Brewer Heights, which was damaged in a traffic crash, and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer,
Mr. Farrow.
yet again, I would like to make a motion to appropriate these funds and get the contractor paid. And for that, I'll ask to waive the 3-read rule.
Motion by Mr. Farrow, seconded by Ms. Payne. Roll call on the motion.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Brown,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
The ordinance passes. Item number 8.
Item number 8 is the first reading of a resolution approving the continued operation of the city's designated outdoor refreshment area, DORA, and amending the DORA resolution for downtown Chiillicothe and the designated hotel area on Bridge Street, downtown Chiillicothe area, and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer, at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we waive the 3-read rule.
Motion by Ms. Henderson, seconded by Ms. Preston. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-read rule.
Preston,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the resolution.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
The resolution passes. Are there any additional items that need to be brought up at this time? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Motion by Mr. Farrow, seconded by Ms. Preston. Roll call on the motion.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Motion passes. We are adjourned. Have a wonderful evening.